place in any context of any sort officially banned globally. Something that most would consider a huge W for humanity and society as a whole. But now this is where things get interesting, because even though technically there has been a global ban on torture since 1948, at least according to the UN, I'm sure many of you watching right now are putting the puzzle pieces together in your head that a lot of the torture exposed by the US government took place far after the torture bans. And while, as I mentioned, historically torture bans have either been all torture is legal or all torture is illegal, I figured a fun way that we could highlight some specific banned torture methods would be by showcasing some of the torture methods that the United States government got exposed for using either many years or many decades after the multiple global torture bans. One of the earliest and most notable examples of torture conducted by the American government basically right after the ban was Project MKUltra. For those unfamiliar, MKUltra was essentially a secret mind control program by the CIA whose sole goal was to try to develop both a truth serum and also to see if it was possible to break the mind of an individual to then rebuild them as your own perfect robot. And these would both be beneficial to the United States government for military applications. As dystopian and disturbing as that sounds. During the duration of Project MKUltra, numerous forms of unique torture took place, with a few notable examples being dosing high levels of LSD and other psychoactive drugs to unwilling and unknown participants to simply see what would happen, electroshock therapy, sensory deprivation, prolonged hypnosis, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, and psychological manipulation. I know I'm just giving a vague overview, but we seriously have so much ground to cover. However, if you do want more information on MKUltra, I'll link a video I made below about it. I have a whole section about MKUltra in my video about conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. Regardless, before we move on from Project MKUltra, it's important to note that many of these methods were used for prolonged amounts of time, once again with the sole goal of breaking the mind and psyche of the unwilling and unknowing participant. And while many of the methods used in MKUltra were non-physical, some of them were. However, the results were the same. The minds and mental health of the victims of the CIA's torture in MKUltra were changed forever, and many feel that justice for these injustices were never truly served. Another notable and disturbing instance of torture being illegally used by the US government happened in the Phoenix program during the Vietnam War. The Phoenix program, once again, was the product of the CIA. And the goal of this program was to act as a counterinsurgency effort in southern Vietnam. And while the reported main goal was to destroy Viet Cong infrastructure, what largely ended up happening and what ended up being exposed later in congressional hearings was a lot more disturbing than what was initially released. Some very graphic and very illegal torture methods used during the Phoenix program were the following: intense beatings with whips and hoses, rape and sexual